For decades, we thought we knew Pamela Anderson. We thought we understood her image, her fame, her choices. But what if the story we consumed wasn't her story at all? What if one of the most recognizable women of the 90s wasn't misunderstood by accident, but by design?
For decades, Pamela Anderson existed in the public imagination as a contradiction. She was everywhere, yet rarely heard, instantly recognizable, yet persistently misunderstood, famous for her image, but seldom credited for her agency. Then something unexpected happened. Pamela Anderson didn't reinvent herself. She reclaimed herself. What we are witnessing now isn't a comeback in the traditional sense. It's a cultural correction, a delayed recognition of depth, resilience, and authorship that was always there, buried beneath a media machine that preferred caricature over complexity. This is the Pamela Anderson Renaissance, the era of the icon without control. In the 1990s, Pamela Anderson became one of the most visible women on the planet. Her image was everywhere: magazine covers, billboards, television screens. To the public, she symbolized a specific fantasy crafted by Hollywood, advertising, and tabloid culture. But icons often pay a hidden price. Pamela's fame was not built on storytelling, interviews, or narrative control. It was built on repetition. The same images, the same framing, the same reduction. Her body became shorthand for an era, while her voice was treated as irrelevant. She was discussed constantly, but rarely listened to. That imbalance shaped how she was treated by the press, by the industry, and by the public. Decisions were made about her, not with her. And when personal violations occurred, they were framed as spectacle rather than trauma. This wasn't accidental. It was structural.
I didn't feel like I had a lot of respect.
Did you want to be a serious actress?
I am a serious actress.
But Anderson calls all of that a caricature of who she really is.
I didn't sleep last night at all.
And now a new book and a new documentary, Pamela, A Love Story, show a different side.
I'm not the damsel in distress. I think that was because of the trauma in my childhood. And then when Playboy would call, I was just like, are you kidding? And then finally, I said, I'm going to do this.
When pop culture refused to protect her. The defining injustice of Pamela Anderson's early career wasn't just exploitation. It was the absence of empathy. Her privacy was violated in a way that would now be widely recognized as criminal. At the time, it was treated as entertainment. Jokes replaced accountability. Late-night monologues replaced compassion. The culture didn't ask how it happened. It asked why she was famous in the first place. This wasn't just cruelty, it was a warning to other women. Visibility came with punishment. Pamela survived it, but survival came quietly. There was no apology tour, no public reckoning. Just decades of misrepresentation layered on top of unresolved harm. The culture moved on. She did not forget. The long silence wasn't weakness. For years, Pamela Anderson stepped back from the center of the spotlight. Many mistook that distance for irrelevance. It wasn't. She was observing, rebuilding, living outside the gaze that had defined her, advocating quietly for causes she believed in, writing, reflecting, protecting what little privacy she had reclaimed. In an industry addicted to constant reinvention, her absence was misread as disappearance. But absence can be strategic, and sometimes the most powerful return is the one that doesn't announce itself loudly. It simply arrives undeniable. The shift, when the narrative finally changed. The Renaissance didn't begin with a glamorous red carpet moment. It began with honesty. Pamela Anderson re-entered public conversation on her own terms, speaking plainly, without performance. She didn't demand sympathy. She offered context. She didn't rewrite history. She told it. For the first time, audiences were encouraged to view her not as an image frozen in time, but as a human being shaped by time. And something surprising happened. People listened. Aging without apology. One of the most radical aspects of Pamela Anderson's Renaissance is how she chose to age, visibly, naturally, and without explanation. In a culture obsessed with preserving youth at all costs, she did the unthinkable. She stopped trying to look like a version of herself that the world expected. Appearing makeup-free on major red carpets wasn't a gimmick. It wasn't a statement campaign. It was a refusal to perform artificial perfection for public comfort. The reaction was revealing. Instead of criticism, there was admiration. Instead of mockery, there was respect. Because what she offered wasn't rebellion, it was relief. Her presence challenged a system that profits from insecurity, and she did it quietly, without slogans or lectures. That silence spoke louder than any protest. Reframing desire, not rejecting it. Pamela Anderson's renaissance is often misunderstood as a rejection of her past image. It isn't. She hasn't disowned her sexuality. She's reframed it. In her earlier years, desire was something imposed on her, shaped by external expectations and monetized by others. Today, it belongs to her. It exists without performance, without obligation. This shift matters. It reminds us that agency isn't about erasing who you were. It's about deciding who gets to define it. Pamela didn't become respectable by abandoning desire. She became respected by owning it. The cultural reckoning we didn't finish. What makes this renaissance resonate so deeply isn't nostalgia, it's guilt. As a culture, we are being forced to confront how casually we consumed someone's pain, how often we mistook access for entitlement, how quickly we dismissed complexity when it didn't serve entertainment. Pamela Anderson's story exposes a broader truth. Many women were publicly punished for surviving systems that never protected them. Her resurgence isn't just personal, it's symbolic. It asks uncomfortable questions. Who did we fail? Who did we mock? Who deserved dignity long before we were ready to offer it? From object to author. Perhaps the most important transformation in Pamela Anderson's renaissance is authorship. She is no longer an object of commentary. She is the narrator. Through interviews, writing, and selective appearances, she has taken control of her story without bitterness. There's no vengeance in her voice, only clarity. That clarity dismantles decades of distortion more effectively than outrage ever could. She doesn't ask to be forgiven. She doesn't ask to be rebranded. She simply tells the truth and lets it stand. Why this moment feels different. Hollywood loves redemption arcs, but this isn't redemption. Pamela Anderson did nothing that required it. This moment feels different because it isn't driven by spectacle. There's no forced comeback vehicle, no manufactured reinvention, no desperate relevance play. What we're seeing is cultural maturity catching up to a woman who outgrew the system long ago. The audience changed, the conversation evolved, the lens widened, and suddenly Pamela Anderson is being seen, not reintroduced. The power of quiet confidence. There is something deeply disarming about the way Pamela carries herself now. No urgency, no defensiveness, no need to convince. That calm unsettles a culture addicted to noise. It proves that confidence doesn't need volume, and strength doesn't need aggression. Her presence alone rewrites assumptions about aging, femininity, and relevance. She doesn't chase attention, she attracts reflection. What the Pamela Anderson Renaissance really represents. This Renaissance isn't about fame returning, it's about humanity being acknowledged. It represents a cultural shift toward accountability, empathy, and listening. Toward understanding that icons are often created by systems that later abandon them. Toward recognizing that visibility without protection is not empowerment. Pamela Anderson's reemergence reminds us that dignity delayed is still dignity, and that recognition, even late, still matters. The Pamela Anderson Renaissance is not loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't provoke. It doesn't beg for validation. It exists quietly, confidently, and unapologetically. And in doing so, it challenges everything we thought we knew about reinvention, relevance, and respect. She didn't change to be accepted. We changed enough to finally see her. That may be the most powerful comeback of all.
Pamela Anderson didn't reinvent herself. She reclaimed herself. And maybe the most uncomfortable part of this story is realizing how it took us to listen. If this video changed the way you see her or the way you see celebrity culture, let me know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives like this, subscribe. Because sometimes the good stories aren't about fame, they're about perspective.